As it regards also to the married couples, this is what Apostle Paul mentions. And it's very categorical that he says it is law. He explained himself that this is what the Lord says and not I. And in other instances, he says, this is what I say and not the Lord. But with this respect, he has explained something about the legal perspective of marriage, that there is nothing Christian marriage or legal marriage or traditional marriage. He says marriage is marriage because specifically the Bible does not specify what actually is Christian marriage. It is actually customarily based on what the Jewish custom was. However, the issue of white gown or ceremonial activities that are done or given out by the missionaries who came to spread the gospel to us. However, let's look at what the Bible talks about when it comes to marriage, which is very controversial according to the issues, which was very consistent in Hebrew. This is with regard to relationship between men and women. And though at this point he's talking about how women were kept away from their husbands for very simple reasons that we are going to understand. Now, in the book of First Corinthians chapter 7, we look at verse 10. Let me talk about from verse 10 as we proceed. I'm going to explain a few things. And he says, and unto the married I command. That is now a command Paul is issuing to the married people. And then he says, yet not I, but the Lord. So he is now saying that it is not him that is issuing the command, it is the Lord's command. Let not the wife depart from her husband. So this is a command that the woman should not depart from the husband. That is one principal rule that we need to understand. That the woman should not keep off from the husband. And if she departs, now this is the thing, if she departs, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. So if she decides to go, then she should not get married. That is law. But if she decides to be reconciled to the husband, then the husband should not send her away. Verse 12. But to the rest I speak I, not the Lord. Now, who is this, the rest? If any brother hath a wife that believeth not. Now, the rest here are those who are non-believers or believers who have entangled themselves with non-believers. So that is what he's talking about, the rest. So he says, if any brother hath a wife that is not a believer, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. So if the wife is an unbeliever, let him not send her away. That is now the law, and is speaking of to the rest who have a mixed being together. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not. Now this is the other way around. And if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. So if the two, believer and unbeliever, agree to dwell together, let them live together. And then in verse 13, he says, and the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. Verse 14, for the unbelieving husband is sanctified by his wife who is believing, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband who is a believer. So, or else, if both were not believers, then their children would be unclean. But now, because both of them have sanctified one another, then the children are holy. Verse 15, but if the unbelieving depart, let him depart, because there is no law binding him or her. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases. Let's not get that. So if the unbelieving depart, that means the brother is not bound, and therefore he is ready, he is free to get married. But God hath called us to peace. So peace here means we should not have struggle of don't go, leave, stay, and all that infighting amongst ourselves. So if any of the ones who is unbelieving departs, then we are actually supposed to be allowed, or actually we are permitted to be remarried, because the unbelieving wife has left, or unbelieving man has departed. Verse 16 says, "For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save the husband, or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife? But as God has distributed to every man as the Lord hath called everyone, so let him walk, and so ordain I all churches." So what Paul is saying actually in verse 15 is that if the unbelieving person, whether husband or wife, depart, there is no law that is binding any of them. And therefore, if there is no law binding them, then the believing husband or the believing wife who has been left behind is free to get married or to remarry. That is exactly what Paul is meaning from that description of First Corinthians chapter 7 verse 15. Thank you very much. If you have another comment that is contrary to mine, be free to indicate on the comment section, so that we may be able to interact together on one-on-one basis. Thank you, and God bless you.